Hello and welcome to another Free History Online video. Today we'll be looking at Germany during the First World War and we'll be looking at its impact on the politics of Germany. So join us today for another grade 9 history skills lesson as we look at Germany in the First World War and top level interpretation skills. So let's get cracking on today's lesson as we look at Germany during the First World War. We're going to revise the knowledge with a quick quiz, and then we're going to look at some basic interpretation skills. Crucial to most exam boards now, this new skill of looking at what historians say and why they say it. So now, over to quiz time. Here we are in our quiz area, and here are 5 big questions you need to know. You need to know these facts if you're going to be successful. Again, I remind you, put the hard work in and revise. Go and look at our Quizlet notes. Go and look at our revision video. These questions are all about the problems in domestic Germany. So how many women were left as widows? How many workers led protests in 1916 shouting down with the war? What was the winter of 1916-17 known as? It's about food. It's about starvation. What killed over 750,000 people, 750,000 people killed by a disease? What was it called? Who took over leadership during November 1918, the revolution, and then the end of the war? These are big, big facts. You should know them. Okay, so take a pause if you like and have a go at this quiz. Or just have a go of them in your mind, see if you can remember them. And then here are the answers. Okay, so 600,000 war widows. 10,000 people protested. The turnip winter. Ooh, doesn't sound very nice, thank you. Turnip bread, turnip soup. Yuck. Okay, turnips were supposed to be for animals, really, or for turning in the soil, not for eating as part of your main diet. What killed over 750,000 people? The Spanish flu, and Friedrich Ebert was the president. If you didn't know those, you need to put the hard work in and get revising. No, dear. I hope the quiz went well. Now let's look at some interpretation skills. This is for AQA in particular. This is 3 questions at the start of this paper, and also this appears in many other papers. Maybe not on a Germany topic, but it's still a useful skill. So here we are with the questions. Now this is a little bit of a tricky one to explain. I think it's best to do these 2 questions together. So this is from the AQA exam. But you might find similar questions elsewhere. And the key thing to note here is that the questions are quite similar, but they're very different. So let's have a read through them and see if we can spot the differences. I would recommend when you read these questions, you have a highlighter or a pen and you're ready to underline things. So for question 1, it says, how does interpretation B differ from interpretation A about the problems Germany faced at the end of the First World War? So you've got the word how, so underline that. Think about what how means. How is a describing word. So it means to describe something. So we've got to describe the difference between these 2 extracts. And then we've got the topic, problems Germany faced at the end of the First World War. So you need to underline that topic and bear that in mind throughout. Then we've got question 2, and it's why. Why might the authors of interpretation A and B have different views about the problems Germany faced at the end of the First World War? So we've got a slightly different command word, we've got why, and that's an explanation word, isn't it? We often think about the word because, and we've still got the same topic, problems Germany faced. So those things need highlighting and underlining, and you've got to focus on those for your answer. So you have those ideas in mind, you've got the topic, then you need to read through the extracts and try and find the answers. So the bits in bold are called the provenance, that's who wrote it. And then the bits not in bold is the content. That's the message of the extract. So for question 1, you need to read the content only, because it's asking you to say what's different about the message and describe the difference. So we read through and we find the message. And we need to be able to summarize the message in about a sentence and find a difference, obviously. What's different about them is the sort of question being asked. The bit in bold is the provenance. That's the reasons why they're different. That's the question 2 bit. Okay, they're different people, they're from different places, they're from different times, and they therefore might write different ideas. We need to have to explain those differences. So have a read through these extracts. You can pause me if you like. Have a read through and see if you can find the difference in the provenance and a difference in the content. Okay, give it a go now. Okay, so maybe you've had a bit of a read through, or maybe you haven't. Maybe you're just going to follow me talking through the question. We're going to move on, and we're going to start to look at how we'd answer these questions. So question 1 then, the how different. So the success criteria, I would suggest you've got to only use the message of the interpretation, a bit not in bold. We don't use the provenance at all here. You don't get any marks for it, it's a waste of your time. So we need to then summarize the message in each interpretation, about 1 sentence only, again, to format questions, save some time. Use the word whereas to link the two interpretations and compare them. It's a brilliant word, it's perfect for this question. And then give a summary sentence at the end, just rounding off the difference. Make it very clear to the examiner you understand the difference, and put a bit of repeating the question back to make it really, really obvious. Okay, so you'll end up doing something like interpretation A has the view that, right, whereas interpretation B has the view that, 1 sentence, and then these 2 extracts are different because, or as, and just a little describing end to it. Okay, let's give that a go. Here we are with question 1 then. Now, what we can do while we're writing this is you can either watch me talk about it, or you can give it a go yourself and then use me to self-assess your answer. So if you're going to use me to self-assess, you're going to have to pause as you go. So now's an opportunity to write your first sentence to describe the message in source A. So interpretation A has the view that, and describing 1 sentence your view. Okay, so give that a go now, and you can pause me. And here we are. Here's what I've written as the answer. Interpretation A says the war ended due to the fear of communist revolution in Germany. This led the socialists to being in power, and then they ended the war to stop the further chance of a communist revolution. So you might remember that Ebert took power during the November Revolution. Okay. So now use that word whereas and come up with a second sentence, the one describing interpretation B and its message. So give that a go now. Okay, here we are. Here is interpretation B. So use this to mark your work. So whereas interpretation B is saying the Germans were defeated due to their army being unable to fight any further in the war. Something like that. Okay. Now we need a concluding sentence. So pause me and give it a go. Right, hopefully you've done that and that you can mark your work. Just needs 1 sentence like that. Therefore, they are different as one is talking about home front and one's talking about the war. Okay, good. We've got different ideas, haven't they? Hopefully you found that relatively simple. And we can do the same exercise, if you like, with the question 2. So it's a why question. Only use the bit in bold, the provenance. Do not use the main content. It's wasting your time. Consider why the interpretation has its view. Who's the person? What are they writing about? When are they from? What's their purpose? Give a sentence for each about why it was written. Then use whereas again to talk about the other side of the argument. Give a summary sentence at the end. So exactly the same short little paragraph, but now we're talking about the provenance. So interpretation A has the view that, interpretation A has this view because, whereas interpretation B has this view because, and then explain at the end. I hope that's relatively simple by now. Right, so I'm not going to talk you through this one, but you can give this one a go. I'll give you a few hints. Have a little think about it. Interpretation A is historian of. So have a read to that provenance. Again, you can flick back to it at your leisure if you haven't worked it out. And think about what type of historian interpretation A is. What have they written as a book? Okay, it's about communists, isn't it? Okay, whereas interpretation B is a historian of military things. It's about armies. Therefore, they have different views because one is a historian of this, the other is a historian of this, and they're going to give different perspectives. They're going to blame different people because of their specialism in history. Have a little practice of that. All right, and if you like me to go to an answer, I have a model answer. I can put it in the comments at some stage if somebody wants an answer to look at. All right. So thank you for taking part in today's lesson. I hope you really enjoyed it. You found it useful and you've helped to develop your skills on interpretations, how they're different and why they're different. In another lesson, we'll be looking at how convincing different interpretations are. For AQA, it's comparing two different interpretations and which is the most convincing. So look out for that video soon. Okay, bye-bye for now.